Thank you very much. When I was 12 years old, I think, I received my first synthesizer, which was a great thing for me because it was very fun to play with. The best thing of it was that it had a sequencer, if you know what that is, a thing which you can record what you play on the keyboard. And this turned out to be what I was doing most of the time when I was not in school. And it was great fun. So I started composing, and it turned out to be, well, most of it was pop music. But I got more interested in you know, tweaking the music around and doing more stuff with it. So when I got older, I also had a friend who took me to a couple of concerts with electroacoustic music or acousmatic music or whatever you want to call it, more experimental, academic type of electronic music, which I hadn't heard anything of. And it sort of moved me, and I got very interested in that and I wanted to do that. So I had no idea how to do that. I tried to do it on my synthesizer, and well, it wasn't that interesting maybe at the time. But nevertheless, I continued doing it, and well, now I sort of do that for my living. So it turned out to be something. Well, I'm not going to talk very much about that, but I'm going to talk a bit about how I think when I compose, and how the computer is an important tool for me, and some about the creative process when I work. This is what let's see if this works. This is what I normally start with. As many people start when you do something creative, you start with a blank page basically, and this is true for me as well. One interesting thing about using computers, for me anyway, is that it might sound contradictory, but you get things that you didn't expect from the computers. Quite often, in my case, and the contradiction here is the title for my speech here is programming music. Where so you expect that you get what you want from the programming, but I tweak the computer and get things that I didn't expect often, and that's one of the most interesting things for me. In the old days, when you made music, you started with an idea, and you wrote it down in a score or a piece of paper. Maybe you had to copy the parts for several musicians that you wanted them to play. Then they had to rehearse it, and you had to make a concert with an audience, and they could receive it. So you had several steps. Nowadays, you can just get the idea, try to make it happen in the computer, and then play it for an audience, or not play it, just make it available on the web, which is kind of interesting as well. This also raises some questions about interactivity, which I find very interesting. Because, I don't know, a couple of years ago, interactivity was used very much in combination with computers. But interactivity is for me, is a much wider concept, where you, as a composer, you want to interact with an audience somehow. Because when you do music, you write. At least in the classical sense, you write music, then you give it to a musician who plays it for an audience. The audience probably gives some kind of feedback to the musician, which can later on tell the composer what the result was. With a computer, you can get a much more direct feedback from an audience if you play it yourself or if you're present anyway. So you get the computer as a middle hand, if you want. So you sort of skip one step. I don't know if this is good or if that's or if it's bad, but it's the way I see this anyway. Of course, you can also add a musician that can play with a computer as well, so you get the musician and the computer as a middleman between the composer and the audience. So this is an interesting thing with the interactivity, I think, because you want to communicate the music, or at least I do. However, interactivity can also mean, as I mentioned, that you can interact with the computer. Sometimes it's very complex things in the computer, so that you can create programs that function as a musician almost, with the artificial intelligence and so on. But you can also make more passive things that maybe is more like art. So I'm going to show you a small video how you can interact with a computer. This is also with a video. I must apologize for the poor audio quality, but nevertheless, this is the piece. So this of course is nothing fancy or anything, but it's still a way of communicating with a computer, which gives you direct feedback. The camera or the sort of mirror is reacting on whenever someone is moving in front of it, and that plays some kind of music, which is kind of interesting. So what's the point of using computers to create music? Well, one thing was that you could skip one step of the interactivity process, and for me another value is that you can. It may sound contradictory again, but for me it's a way of adding more emotional content to the music, as well as, of course, creating, extend the range of an instrument or creating new instruments, as you saw here. Well, and the value of why I have also a suggestion why you should not use the computers in music. Which is it's very unpractical. You need a loudspeaker system, and you need lots of gear every time you do concerts. So if you have issues with that, I strongly advise against it. But otherwise, it's very fun. I have I had an idea of playing live here, but it turned out to be very unpractical. So instead, I have pre-made a short sound clip, which I have recorded live. So it could have been done here, but it's pre-made, and it sounds like this. Or it should start.
Now I will show you an example of how you can use computers to generate music or something similar from almost anything. How you can use computers to generate music or something similar. How you can use computers to generate music or something similar. How you can use computers to generate music or something similar. How you can use computers to generate music or something similar. How you can use computers to how you can use computers to generate music or something similar from almost anything. How you can use computers to something similar. You can use computers to generate from almost anything. How you can use computers to generate music or something similar from almost anything. How you can use computers to something similar. You can use something similar from almost anything. How you can use computers to generate music or something similar from almost anything. How you can use computers to generate music or something similar from almost anything. How you can use computers to generate music or something similar from almost anything. How you can use computers to generate music something similar from almost anything. How you can use computers to generate music something similar from almost anything. How you can use computers to generate music something similar from almost anything. How you can use computers to generate music something similar from almost anything. How you can use computers to generate music something similar from almost anything. How you can use computers to generate music something similar from almost anything. How you can use computers to generate music something similar from almost anything. How you can use computers to generate music something similar from almost anything. How you can use computers to generate music something similar from almost anything. How you can use computers to generate music something similar from almost anything. How you can use computers to generate music something similar. How you can use to generate music.
Well, thank you. That's well, some of the things that you can do with computers, and I enjoy that very much. So I strongly recommend everyone else to do it as well, to experience the fun of it. That's about what I had to say today. I'm Stefan Klaverdal, and thank you very much for attending.